demon here. It's a dream for most to have kids. But what happens when a mother pressures her daughter to want something she doesn't want? Nerdy Tech 21 tells us, my mother cried when I told her I didn't want to have kids. My mother cried when I told her I didn't want to have kids. She became incredibly distraught, borderline hysterical even. The thoughts of me not wanting kids upset her very much, but I wasn't surprised. She was a bit traditional. She bought into the life script lie, as it were.
So you're not having kids?
She yelled.
Who will take care of you when you're older?
She demanded, as if that was enough to change my mind. I wouldn't need anyone to take care of me when I was older.
I don't want to have kids, Mom. I've known that for a long time,
I said, working hard to keep emotion out of my voice.
Children brings your life joy, purpose. Please, don't you want a life of purpose and joy?
She begged, tears streaming down her cheeks.
What would our friends say when they find out I raise a stubborn, selfish girl who chooses not to have children, throwing her life away with both hands? Please, have at least one.
I scoffed.
I've made up my mind, Mom. I'm not going to have any children. This is my life, my body, my money, my freedom at stake. This is my decision. No one can decide this for me. I do not want a child. Please!
My mother wailed. I could tell that she was running out of arguments. Good. I wondered if she could hear the faint but growing sirens in the distance. Maybe this conversation would be wrapped up soon.
You're a woman. This is your biological function. This is what women are made to do. We have kids. You think I wanted you? All you have ever done is been grateful for what I have given you, the sacrifices that I've made for you. But I had a child because that's our job, to have children. I had you and raised you and fed you and clothed you, and you cannot do this. Change your mind. Have a child.
She all but ordered. She was desperate, so desperate she was finally telling the truth for once. Good. It was about time we had this talk.
Exactly, Mother. That's exactly it. I'm not having a child because I was raised by someone who didn't want a child. I know exactly how awful and lonely and miserable that is. I am not doing that. You shouldn't have either.
The sirens was louder now, probably just down the streets.
And not only am I not having kids, but I also call LifeScript and turn myself in. They should be here to take us to the recycling center any minute.
After all women were good for was having children, which was why LifeScript was humanity's savior and prison guard. Every woman was required to have a child, at least one, and those women like me who decided that they didn't want to have kids, and those unlucky enough not to be able to have one before their 31st birthday. Well, we were hunted and taken to the recycle center where no one knows what happens to us, but no woman who were taken to the recycling center are ever seen again. And just in case that wasn't enough to keep us compliant, they wouldn't just take you, they will also take your sister and her sister. Luckily, my mother and I were both only children. Hi guys, today we were sponsored by LifeScript. Take a look at their ad and all that they are going to accomplish.
Here at LifeScript, we have this new scientifically backed protocol that will help all humanity. Due to humanity's declining population, we have enacted protocols to save the human race. If you know any woman who's incapable of having children, please let us know, as we are well equipped to handle these situations. And remember, LifeScript is here for you.
Links in the description if you desire to sign up and save humanity. Guys, we need to remember that we need to support our factory workers. They make our lives easier. So let's look inside of one to see the challenges of the job. Today we'll be going inside a factory with decorative gentlemen. I know his wife and children. They're nice people. He works at Factory 4. Let's hear what he has to say. I work in line at Factory 4. It's hard on the soul. I'm lucky to have a job. I'm lucky to have a job. I've got to remember to tell myself that when my stomach flutters and my bile raises to my throat. I do it for my family, for my wife, my 2 daughters, Mary, Isla, and little Elsie. I ran the knife downwards, not too deep. I have to cut the skin, not muscles, not organs. When I was onboarded, I told them I had deer hunted before the Swifton Act was enacted. I lied, but they didn't follow up, and the job was a way to avoid the lottery. I'm lucky to have a job. I cut the fascia until the skin is separated enough from the muscle to pull it off. The skin goes into a trough. The motor above grinds to life, and a new hanging body swung into my station. I breathe deeply to steady the tremors, but I also got the stench of aging blood and discarded viscera. I'm lucky to have a job. The alternative is worse. I could have ended up on a convoy like so many others. My family could have. Those aristocrats for whom human flesh had become a new delicacy didn't distinguish between young and old when they established the lottery. 12:20 p.m. It's almost lunchtime for those who grow numb enough to even stomach a meal. But my supervisor told me that I couldn't see outside visitors until I increased my productivity.
Your wife and daughter will not be seeing you for a while, I imagine?
His eyes filled with something akin to guilt. I hadn't responded. Best not to stick out when the work I do keeps us safe. The last body before break is a young girl. Her head is hidden in a drawstring sack like all the others. For the dignity of the dead, they said. But I know it's so we can't see the hole in their foreheads. I ran the knife downwards. I'm trying not to think about the pain of this poor girl's family. I do, however, try to imagine their faces. I keep imagining me and adding it to the hundreds of others. As I cut the fascia, my supervisor came by, nodded at the girl's body with a telling glance. The neck sack, I knelt down and removed it, swallowing hard at the sight of the girl's lifeless face. It was a necessary horror to endure to get the next vial of neurotoxin from the sack. I rubbed it into the girl's bare muscle with a practiced daftness, saving enough for the next 2 bodies. My supervisor stopped right next to my station, forging a review on his clipboard. Mary and the girls, he whispered, made it into Canada night before last. I'm lucky to have a job. They'll regret forcing me to take it. As I said in the beginning, guys, we should support our factory workers. Look at how hard they work to produce our meals for us. Now, let's unwind a little. J Group has a nice story to tell us. Don't eat the marshmallows. We were eating dinner when it happened. The whole family was there. All my kids, my wife, extended relations. They all saw me take a bite of the new dessert. Delicious, I thought at first. Then, in an instant, the world turned upside down. I tasted blood. I felt a sharp pain in my mouth as something pierced my flesh. Sharp needle-like bolt of pain, impossible to ignore. Their eyes went wide as they watched, helpless. I tried to scream, but no sound came out of my choppy red mouth. And then I was being lifted upwards by the torn-apart flesh of my mouth, grasping for air and staring in panic terror at the face of my executioner. He was a towering behemoth, an ugly brute of an alien who pulled me painfully from my life, my home. He began to speak, and I realized that I couldn't breathe in this new place, foreign air not being processed in my lungs.
Yo, we caught a fine one out here on Lake Hibachi Zoo. This place is something else, I tell you.
He held me, grasping for air, revealing his mastery over me. Kill me, I want to scream. Just let me die or let me breathe, damn it.
And as always, we're good fishermen, so we're gonna toss this fella back into the water. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks. And thank you for watching Bobby Zuzu, and this is Fishing with Bobby.
He dropped me back into the water, and I swam back to my family, grateful to be alive. A story to tell, to pass on for generations. Don't eat the marshmallows. Personally, I don't like marshmallows. I like factory 4 delicacies. So remember, if you're part of the lottery, hit that subscribe button. Because if you don't, I will put in my personal order for you. And remember, have a nightmarish night.